There is power in personal stories. It connects us, it empowers us, and it holds us accountable. It creates understanding and expands our perspective. This is Big in the Community with Jonathan James at the Kalamazoo Promise, a podcast aimed to highlight local leaders, collaborators, and innovators in the greater Kalamazoo community. All right, welcome to Deep Dives with not Dr. John. Just want to make it clear he's not here anymore. That kind of came up. If I Dr. John, I know my name's Jonathan, but it's not Dr. John or Jonathan. It might be eventually. We'll see. But anyway, we like to start our episodes off with a quote. So here's one. We all should know that diversity makes for a rich tapestry, and we must understand that all the threads of the tapestry are equal in value no matter what their color. And that's Maya Angelou. So today on our episode, we have our guest who is big in the community, Stacy Ledbetter, Interim Executive Director of the Douglas Community Association, also founder of Black and Blue Networking and Consulting, LLC, and then also, what's your other title? TRHT of Kalamazoo. You are the law design team lead and racial healing practitioner, leader / trainer.
Look at you.
Yeah. I can read some stuff, But welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for being here. So how long have you been doing what you do, and how long have you been in Kalamazoo?
Oh my goodness. I've been in Kalamazoo since 1987. And how long have I been doing what I do? So interim executive director since May of 2022 with TRHT, or Truth, Racial Healing and Transformation Kalamazoo, since 2017. And Black and Blue Networking and Consulting, I established that in 2017 also.
Wow. So you've been doing big stuff for a while.
Oh my goodness. Thank you.
I also heard, I read some stuff, that you were in KDPS.
Yes.
Correct. And you were the first Black woman sergeant, lieutenant, and then captain.
Yes. There was one more step in between, after lieutenant, executive lieutenant, and then captain.
Nice. Hey, you've been doing big things for a while.
Thank you.
Thank you for the work that you've been doing. I know you came here and you did a training with us for our Higher Promise program. And I was sitting there, I was like, wow, taking notes. I was like, yeah, that's true. That's true. She needs to be on the show. I don't think I knew there was going to be a show.
Look at you.
But I was like, this will be great. So I'm glad that you're here and that we can learn a little bit more about you.
Sounds good. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So how do you engage with the Kalamazoo community?
Wow. How do I engage? There's so many avenues. Church home is here. I'm a member of Galilee Baptist Church. Dr. Michael T. Scott is my pastor. And engaging through service. I just have a heart of service, was raised that way. Mm-hmm. And so you mentioned background in law enforcement. So literally serve the community. Mm-hmm. That's what we are tasked to do. And I believe that I did that. And service of the heart in terms of community service via affiliations, organizational affiliations, but even my family. Husband and I raised our children to be of service, to give back, to count our blessings, even if it's just one person that we can assist. Mm-hmm. That's what we're charged to do. And I just truly believe in that.
Mm-hmm. I'm still taking notes. So what's your, before we get into that, how do you collaborate with other organizations?
Well, first of all, I believe in collaboration. I believe that people and organizations can do things better together. I love diversity of mindset. I've never been the type to think I know everything. There's always experts on the team, regardless of title, and just a big believer in that. And so especially if somebody's in the same lane or vein, just reaching out, tapping out. If matter of fact, the Douglas today is October 10th, 2023. We're having an open house today.
We'll
and if
be
you
there.
look at I'm excited. I saw you all, and if you all saw the flyer, it's loaded. It's loaded with logos because it's collaboration. We're like, the more the merrier. Our Jonathan Yarbrough had to stop me, like, look, we're out of space. Because I'm like, hey, add them. And so I can have a general conversation and be out and about in community. Hey, you want to come over? You want to do this? We're just wide open.
And that's awesome. It's great to just see that it's that simple. Just
It's that
to just
simple.
say, hey, we're doing this thing. Why don't you come?
That's it.
That's all it, it could start there. You could fill forms out or whatever. But if you just simply know, hey, this is happening and we want your organization to be here, why not?
Why not?
That's awesome. So now that we got, some of your work type of hats that you wear, what's your story? How did you get to where you are now? You can go back as far as you want. You can skip over things, whatever you feel comfortable sharing.
No, I appreciate it. Detroit native, actually literally born in Highland Park, but grew up in Detroit. And that path, even though my parents divorced when I was young, they were both always there and both service-minded and both big on respecting elders. Some things I didn't realize till later in terms of it was a balance. They both instilled being proud of who I am as a Black person in this country, but to no one else's detriment, never putting other people down, but making sure I knew I was beautiful and smart and could do anything I wanted, et cetera, et cetera. And just seeing them, again, as I look back with a diversity of friendships, and that heart for service, that was just instilled. So that's why I mentioned to you on the front end, that's just who I am. So school proud, I mentioned the Detroit native, of course, but of course we got Motown with that. With me specifically, Cass Tech, I always got to give my high school a shout out. Love me some Cass Tech, class of 87. And so those 313 roots, despite how long I've been here, are still in me. But I also love Kalamazoo. Came here to Western Michigan University, which I was a legacy in that regard. My dad attended, and he was actually a member of the Black Action Movement. And so when Dr. King was killed, they did a sit-in in the student center at the time and made demands that actually some were implemented, including, hiring Black coaches and professors. And he and some other colleagues were actually instrumental in even desegregating the Kalamazoo Central cheer team. So it's just different things where I'm proud of that legacy, and it's in my blood. I am an advocate for those who come to me and need information or know how to go the path to fight, if you will, for the justice that they need. If I have the knowledge or I can point them in the right direction, that's just who I am and how I am. And so even where I stand today, or as I continue that path, even in law enforcement, I'm totally cognizant, and it was from beginning to end, on the disconnect between community and law enforcement, particularly communities of color, specifically the Black community. I'm not oblivious to that, but I count it a blessing that I got to be in that place to build relationships and have culture understanding with the community I just described. And so it was so powerful for me that even when I retired or had my celebration at the Northside Station, and there were more community members than police officers. I mean, and that was so big and powerful to me in the midst of, it was prior to George Floyd being killed, but just all the things. In terms of what people see in the media and highlighted police brutality. And even in this community, it's not other places, like it's in Kalamazoo too, those vibes and those feelings. But to know, and this is how I even know, John, 2023, I retired 2017. I still get calls to this day as if I still work there. With people asking questions, needing advice, needing direction. And so, again, I just thank the Lord that if that's the path he wanted me to take and where he wanted me to be, so be it.
Yeah, that speaks to how much you were involved, that people still reach out to you now to learn from your time while you were there. That's amazing.
Thank you.
No, I know one of the first community partners that we did talk to when I first started was KDPS. And one of the conversations that we had was, I had just mentioned it, like there was a time where there was a study done that said like more colored people were pulled over, you know, like the
racial profiling study. Yes.
Yeah. So I noticed that personally because before that was done, there was literally a night I got pulled over 3 times going from my mom's house to Western.
Wow.
Which is like maybe a mile.
Okay.
Like it's not,
wow.
It's not anything. So, but then to be in a room with a police officer and someone else from KDPS and to actually talk about that, it was a really powerful moment for me. Like it was just, you know, it was just a meeting, but for me to be able to voice that,
yes, and
then for them to say, we want more people to say things like that. We want you to feel comfortable enough to have that kind of conversation.
Good.
So that just was running in the back of my mind, like, oh yeah, we did talk and we did have a conversation, and it led to an openness and a trust that I didn't necessarily have before. So
did they understand your perspective and you felt some resolve?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. So it was just being able to share like, hey, that actually did have an effect. That had an impact, that study being done. And then afterwards I've been pulled over like maybe once.
Oh, okay.
Well, twice. I my plates were, you know, I needed to get them reduced. So I got pulled over. Yes, okay. Yes. That was different.
Okay. Appreciate your honesty.
Yeah. So what motivated you to get where you are now?
What motivated me? Talked about the path. And so even if you take the chunk of law enforcement, that wasn't in my sights. That's not what I went to Western for. And fell into it via an internship, doing ride-alongs, writing papers. And so in terms of motivation, I'm not a person who is afraid of change. Many people are. Mm-hmm. I like trying new things. I go to restaurants. I'll order something different every time, those types of things. And but that motivation in particular is just a love and a heart for people. Mm-hmm. That TRHT work in particular, Truth, Racial Healing, and Transformation, is about building relationships. And so a lot of what I do, and even with my consulting company, is bringing people together who otherwise never even would have met, who might have had assumptions about groups of people. But once you have simple conversations, and just like we're doing now, where are you from? What do you like? Mm-hmm. And you tap into the commonalities versus the differences. Mm-hmm. And I've just seen it, John. I've seen it happen. I love it. And I mean, I literally love what I do.
Mm-hmm. No, that's great. I mean, that brings out your passion. That brings out when you're able to work in your values, yes, in your faith, in your morals, and to also just feel fulfilled, yes, when you come to work and you do what you do. And then, but also you can see the effect that it's having when, yes, you have those conversations or people reach out or they need you. But to be able to directly speak to those things is amazing.
Thank you.
What would it be if you could do anything to transform Kalamazoo? What would it be? Regardless of politics, money, funding, anything.
Well, actually, and it's tied into the work that I do, is eradicating the hierarchy of human value language that I'm taking right from TRHT and Dr. Gail Christopher in particular, and poverty and health disparities. Mm-hmm. Because some of it is controllable in terms of giving opportunities, in terms of environmental racism and barriers, and just different things that we all see as a society are controlled by those with quote unquote power, mm-hmm, or money, et cetera. I mean, a lot of good can come from that power and money, and does, mm-hmm, in this community, but more of a balance, because we all see it. There are a lot of studies and situations, a lot of things. Going back to the study that you mentioned, mm-hmm, there was a cost to that study. And I personally know community members who said, you could have saved that money. I could have told you, mm-hmm, these results.
Right.
Seriously, you know what I'm saying? And so even with the situations I'm talking about and what I would focus on, we know. Mm-hmm. We already know these things.
Yeah.
So why can't we just address them and do something about it? Because it's possible.
Mm-hmm. sometimes the money being tied to it, sometimes we need evidence. We need, actual hard data that we can, have behind this. And sometimes stuff can get hung up where someone could just say it like this. We know this is an issue.
We know. But when it's not our issue,
right,
that's when the wheels turn slowly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. It's I think my biggest thing is when there are issues like this, when it's just we're gonna watch a video during our lunch break, and that's gonna be our Black History Month
right
thing, which it's a good start, but it's frustrating when it's just an extra thing. You can't say this is a foundational thing that we believe in, but it's a optional thing for you to go to on your lunch break that you probably just want to go home or take a nap or actually eat some food. Then it's not actually something that you genuinely care about.
Correct.
Because I've seen that in different workplaces, and that's one of my pet peeves is if you say this is really something you care about, but you don't, your actions got to back it up. Make it part of our core, being as a company.
I agree with you. And those one and dones and check boxes, black and blue. Mm-hmm. I don't play that. Mm-hmm. You don't even get to do that through me. You won't see my name or my company on anything like that for the very reason you just said. And then when it's tied to compensating people for what they do, budgets, organizational budgets are moral documents. So either you care or you don't, and you display that through your money and the way it flows.
Yeah, that's true. We could talk about this for a while. Sorry. What are your favorite things about Kalamazoo? Restaurants, people, family?
It's a combination, being a parent. I mean, children are grown now, but just the whole package of quality of life overall. And I say that with the caveat of knowing that I'm blessed, being able to, for the most part, choose, where I live, what I do, basic needs are met. So, I just wanted to qualify that statement because we do have a lack and poverty in this community. But generally speaking, the culture component, church for me, the restaurants that you mentioned, culture, and also like with plays and libraries and different things, and the service opportunity. We're service strong and enriched and resource rich in this community, and I definitely appreciate that. So the fact that I sat still from the point of being a high school graduate to being in retirement says a lot about my choices. I didn't have to be here, but chose to be here, and I don't plan on moving. While I love to travel, and that's how I look at it, I can go anywhere I want to, but I look forward to coming home.
I like that. I know a lot of people, they end up coming back to Kalamazoo.
Right.
A lot of people will say, "Oh, there's nothing in Kalamazoo. There's nothing for me to do," and it's a lot of younger people. Nothing against younger people. I was a younger person too, and I used to think like, "Oh, there's nothing. Like, what am I supposed to do in Kalamazoo? It's a school city." There's, I don't know, not like a nightlife. I mean, there is in a sense, but we have a lot of breweries, bars, stuff like that, but not necessarily a place for young professionals to go to and, just spend time together. That's not a bar. But now that I've been working here for a long time, learning about the different resources in Kalamazoo, the services, all the things that you mentioned, I'm like, there's a lot in Kalamazoo. I wasn't tapped in to see it, which is the whole point of what we're doing here is to try to highlight some of that stuff. If the Kalamazoo Promise was available to you, would that have changed things, and how would that have changed things?
I literally had this conversation last week, had a family gathering. We were in the Detroit area and was talking about the order. I brought up the promise, and it was from the aspect at my particular high school, because you had to test to get in. So, in terms of academics, that's how we got in. And I was like, oh my goodness, we would have took all their money. Just so this blessing is just totally exciting in terms of the opportunity. Absolutely. I mean, that just would have been a thing, but it's not lost on me being here, knowing what I know with the blessing in this community. And, your stats are what they are, regardless of the percentage. It's not 100%. Mm-hmm. And so that difference where people don't know. And sometimes don't have the family or support system to encourage and emphasize the importance. And what I love about the promise is the way you didn't get stuck in, or the promise didn't get stuck in the origins. So it's expanded to private colleges, to trades, to this, that, and to the police academy. I mean, just so many things where you choose your path in life, and we want to support that and have a long time to do it, for you to make up your mind. And so I think it's beautiful. Definitely would have jumped on it. My path was a combination of family support, financial aid, so at the end, paying off loans and stuff, things that the Promise students don't have to do. And I think it's amazing. That's on the path of eradicating any generational poverty, or for those who weren't even in poverty, not even having debt, because educational debt is ridiculous. And I know many Americans have been blessed recently with some, you would know, where their debt was eradicated. And that's awesome, too, because then you can contribute to society. You're going to buy more things because you have more in your pocket. It all works for the good. So that's why I don't understand oppression. Why are you doing that? Can't we just win together? Please.
Yeah, it's hard to understand. I mean, when I think about the promise, and I think about even like myself and my wife, like how I could have had a lot more debt. I could have had a lot of stuff that I was coming in with, like, oh, we got to take care of this. Luckily, she didn't have any debt that she had to deal with, and I have like minimal amount of debt. And it literally just, jumped us forward in time, where we would have been in a small apartment making payments here and there. But now we're, in our second house.
That's awesome.
We've been married like 2-3 years.
Oh,
I said 2-3. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, why 2-3? What's up with the 2-3?
Hey, we need to edit that out. But I'm focused on the questions of the podcast right now. But we think we have these conversations, like we'll go for walks and we'll say like, man, like we really just moved to another house, like a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house, and we've skipped a lot of things. And then we'll have these conversations like with our parents, and it's like they did this so we didn't have to. Then, the promise eliminates this financial barrier that we would have had, and now we're this much better off with it than our kids. I'm talking about, oh, what can I get my son in? What can he do? We're tapping into all the resources that are in Kalamazoo. I'm like, I want them to be in every single thing that they can be. And it just puts you that much further ahead compared to other, like, not ahead, but catching up to those people who have those things that we necessarily didn't.
Absolutely.
So when I hear you talk about that, I'm like, it changes a lot of things. So yeah.
Yes.
If you had a gold nugget of information that you would share with someone who would like to do the same work as you, what would it be?
The same work. Well, you mentioned also, the different hats that I have. And so if someone had an interest, I don't know if it's just one golden nugget. And I'm saying that because even in the midst of being at the Douglas right now, I believe in cultivation. So you have to have a toolkit. It's different things. It's different things that I've learned. So at my age and where I am now, I want to give back in knowledge, but I know at the same time people have to have their own path. So I remember, fresh college graduate, early 20s, that whole bit, you know what you know, but hey, I got my degree. I know this, I know that, I'm ready for the world. And, but at the same time, I respect the generations because the world is changing so fast. So a lot of times younger generations have a level and lane of expertise that I look forward to learning from and tapping. I told you that's how I am even with teams. I respect people where they are. Going back to the Douglas, I can't do the administrative or the receptionist responsibility better than the current receptionist we have. I can't sit down and do what we do, but guess what? We need them. We need them to welcome and be courteous to every caller, every person that comes in before that chain even gets to me. So first of all, I respect people where they are. So the nugget becomes, or nuggets, collaboration, networking. I'm big on education. And so even now today, and I went up through master's level, I love to learn and reading. So even with my company, with Black and Blue, it's constantly researching, and not to just make it a daunting task to research. No, I love to do it. And I don't even present as any type of expert, because I love to be in groups of people where we transfer and exchange information. Other people put their experiences on the table, et cetera, et cetera. So the nugget is to enjoy the journey, tap your resources, because, again, I know I don't know everything, but for as long as I've been in this community and the relationships that I have, I'm very confident that I can tap who does. If I don't have the answers or connections.
That's powerful.
Thank you.
I mean, when you think about, okay, I have what I have. I have the knowledge that I have. I have the resources that I have. But if I could just get you to the person who
Absolutely.
does, that's even better. Do you have any questions for me?
Well, is there anything and I relate this back to my law enforcement career before I retired, but I was training new officers about the community. And the Von Washington would literally come himself to speak to my classes. But one of the things he relayed to the young officers is that they are ambassadors. You work in Kalamazoo. We have this gift of the Kalamazoo Promise, and we need you, him speaking on behalf of the Promise, to spread the word, to spread this gift and what it can do and what's entailed. So that's my question for you today, 2023. How can Stacy, Black and Blue, the Douglas, be a resource or be an ambassador for you all? What should we say? Should we direct people?
I would say to be an ambassador is just to share the correct information about the Promise. Sometimes misinformation can be just as harmful as not knowing about it. But we have our information pamphlets that you can just hand out. KalamazooPromise.com is the easiest way. Emailing us, texting us, or not text, but email, social media. We're on all the different things. But then just making that connection, like you said, just connecting whoever it is to one of us, and we can make the connection of who it is that they need to talk to. So we keep adding more and more things to the Promise. So sometimes there might be a new initiative that people don't even know about. Like I just gave a presentation earlier today to a place I've already done a presentation for, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't know you had that going on." Well, it's new. It's a new thing. And I think that's the biggest thing, is to just know that the Promise is adapting, it's changing. It's not the same thing that it was 17 years ago when Correct. It started. It's we see the needs that are in the community, and we are willing to change with what's going on in Kalamazoo and the country. So
I love it. And will you allow me to say one more thing about the Douglas? Just wanted to add a note, since I have this opportunity. I thank you and your colleagues for the team in here and allowing me to be here today. But in regards to the Douglas, because it's a jewel of Kalamazoo, and it's the historic Frederick Douglass Community Association. And so even though I've only been in this position just shortly over a year, I still notice, it's happened even this week. I'll get invoices or other information with Douglas with one S. Frederick Douglass has two S's on his name. We're not related to the street around the block. And so I just, want to emphasize and encourage that respect be put on his name. The Douglass was founded in 1919 because Black soldiers in particular, coming home from World War I, had nowhere to socialize. They weren't allowed to socialize with white soldiers who came back, Fort Custer, Battle Creek. that was their base, and that's why it was so close, and Kalamazoo was connected to this story. But it was actually a picture of diversity in terms of the Douglas being established. And what was interesting, though, it was segregated in terms of a whiteboard and a blackboard. But then it merged at a point and went from there. So our mission has changed over the 100 years. But Frederick Douglass stood even back in his time for voting rights, for women's rights, things that we encourage and support now, because your voice is power. And when you talk about eradicating some of that poverty, you have to pay attention and know how government is run and what you can do to make a difference. It's just so many things. So I could go on and on. I appreciate you letting me say that. The biggest thing was, or is, we are named after Frederick Douglass, a human being who's historical and was powerful and fighting then, even for things we're fighting about now. And I just wanted people to know that. Thank you.
No, I appreciate that. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about?
Wow, I mean, that was super wide open. I just added on what I wanted to there, so I'm good. Okay. If that's what you need for your show,
I'm just checking.
Thank you.
How can someone get involved in the work that you're doing now?
Oh, my goodness. Definitely they can reach out. As Coach Prime says, I'm not hard to find.
with the glasses.
Exactly. Give me my hoodie and my glasses. And so, contacting the Douglass and tonight, well, I mean, this is not live, so you can edit that and scrap that. But the Douglass is always having some type of activity, or again, we look forward to hearing about possible collaboration. So even if it's not happening now, come talk to me about what could be.
Yeah.
Because that's happened in my year span in terms of new collaborations. So there's volunteer opportunities, and even with the other work that I do. And I mean, we didn't go deep into that. It's that's a whole other show. But if anybody has any curiosity sparked by listening to me now, I'd be happy for them to connect with me so we can talk about the possibilities.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Thank you for sharing your story. People need to hear it.
Thank you.
So, you're ready. Be confident and know that you have everything that you need.
I love it.